Okay. Oh, and we have someone in the chat. Hi, Phil. Phil's joining us today.
We're live.
Oh, and Stephen Benningfield. How are you
Benningfield.
doing? Nice to see you.
Right on.
Okay, we are now live streaming, which means I'm going to close YouTube. So we're not live streaming, just so for the folks who are joining us now, we're not live streaming to YouTube such that everyone can see right now, but we are sending it up to YouTube so that we can link it afterwards, and then folks can watch it over again if they want to rewatch it or join in later. And hello from Connecticut, that's cool. Welcome.
Yeah. Are you going to record this?
Yes, it's recording
and on YouTube,
right away.
right?
Yeah, so it's ready to go. Just a quick question. So we don't, James, I'll let you answer this before we get started. Is it possible to get a copy of the PDF? As a member, you should receive a physical copy once every year. We don't typically send out electronic copies. I believe we tried that a couple of years ago.
It's too expensive, and we can't let them out without a password.
Okay.
Because otherwise we would risk losing our annual revenue. The handbook is our revenue earner, and we can't do without it. So
no, we need that.
The answer is, it's a nice thought, but the answer is no. Unfortunately
not, but you can still follow along. If you don't have your copy right now, you can always order a copy and we'll send it out from the office. Adela will send it out from the office. And then you can come back and watch again to follow along. So I'm gonna welcome everybody here. You should be able to see our Observer's Handbook up. My name is Jenna. We've got James Edgar here today. James Edgar is the star of the show because James Edgar is the editor of the handbook, and the handbook would not exist without him. Thank you so much for joining us, James.
My pleasure.
So today we're going to go through, so first of all, welcome to everybody who's here. I'm going to see how many folks we've got here. We have 64 people joining us. So thank you all so much for coming. This series is, the main goal of this series is to delve deeper into what the Observer's Handbook can do for you and how you can use it. And through that, James is going to tell us all about what's in the Observer's Handbook. A couple of guest authors come on board. We have, how many guest authors are there, James? Do you know? How many authors are in the Observer's Handbook?
How many which?
How many authors are there? How many people write sections?
Oh, contributors. There's 77.
77. Okay, that's a lot of people. But it is the book that you need to know what's going on in the sky for the next year. So we're going to start off with, this session's going to be about the introductions and the basic data, which is at the beginning of the book. And we're going to go through each section throughout the following weeks. A couple things to note. May 18th is listed as an event, as one of, or it's listed in the seminars as something you can sign up for. If you're signed up for May 18th, we're not hosting a webinar that day. It's the Victoria Day long weekend. So it's a holiday. We're going to take the holiday and start again the week afterwards. So just make sure that you note that, and that it's in fact, the series is in fact running to June 3rd. And in terms of, just so you guys know which contributors are coming, the plan is to have Roy Bishop coming, who wrote a ton of sections in the Observer's Handbook. He's going to come and hopefully talk about time, optics, and observing. We hope to have Bruce McCurdy, Pat Kelly, and maybe Alistair Ling as well to talk about the sky month by month and eclipses. We're going to have hopefully Bruce McCurdy again, since apparently he really likes hockey and there's none of that on right now. So he's got lots of free time. So Bruce McCurdy is going to come and join us again, hopefully, along with Kim Hay for the moon and the sun section. We're going to have Pat Kelly for planets and satellites, if all works out well. James, you're going to take the lead on dwarf and minor planets, meteors, comets, and dust, right?
Yes.
And then we have our little break week. Following that, we've got stars in the deep sky with Alistair Ling. And then finally, we're wrapping up with a session about how to use the handbook and ways that you can use it with your RASC membership. And if you have technical questions, any sort of questions at all that we can't address in the main chunk of it, you can ask them there. So we have lots and lots of time for that. I'm going to send, excuse me, I assume all of you are members, as this is open only to members. So I'm going to just send in the chat the link to, so Judy just said Roy wrote 17 sections of the Observer's Handbook. Just sending you guys out the link to, there we go, to the page that has all this information. You do have to be signed on in your national account to be able to see it, just a heads up. Alrighty, yes, so John just asked when we were talking about the PDF question, PDF of the handbook, yes, all members get sent a handbook with their membership. It's one of our best features of our membership. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to James. James, can you tell us?
Just to clarify, not all members get a handbook.
No?
Because you could be a family member.
Good point.
Family
Okay,
members
yes.
get one per household.
That's fair. Okay, good point. You get, yes, that is a very good point. Youth members do get them. Regular individual members do get them, and then family members get one of everything.
Right on.
All right, James, I'm going to ask you to take it away for us, please.
You gonna ask me a question?
Can you please tell us a little bit about the Observer's Handbook and your experience writing or editing it so far?
Everything you want to know about the handbook?
Yes, please. All of it.
In 30 minutes. Yeah. Well, as it turned out, when I first joined the society, I was given a membership as a gift from my son. It was a birthday gift in 2000. I had bought a telescope a couple of years earlier, and I was messing around with the scope, and I had no idea that the RASC even existed. But my son bought me this membership, and I dove right in. I thoroughly enjoyed the journal, and it wasn't very long after I joined it, there was a broadcast message put out by the previous editor, Dave Turner, that they were looking for help to do different chores in the journal. So I put my hand up and said, sure, I'd like to help. And it got lost in the transition because the editorship changed right then. Wayne Barkhouse took over, and that message that I sent got lost. So I sent it again, and Wayne Barkhouse, the new editor, said, well, what can you do? And I said, well, I could be a proofreader. And he said, okay, you are one. So, and it wasn't very long afterwards that I sent a letter to the handbook editor, who was Rajiv Gupta at the time. And he eventually became a society president as well. And I mentioned to him that there was a few things that I noted in the handbook, because I'd read it from cover to cover more than once. And I saw a few things that should be corrected. And he said, would you like to be a proofreader? So with that, I became a handbook proofreader. And that was in 2002. So
Wow.
I've been involved with the handbook now for 18 years. It's my 18th year of being involved with it. And I became the assistant editor under Dave Chapman's editorship, and I'm now the editor. And this is my, I'm working on the 2021 edition right now, my 5th edition. So
gotta get started early.
I don't have any plans to resign or retire. So I'm going to keep doing this until I can no longer do it.
Well, we are very thankful for that, because this is a big task. If you have your Observer's Handbook, by the way, folks who are joining us, do keep it with you during this. I embarrassingly only have the 2019 issue. Sorry. I got to go to the office to pick up the 2021. But it's a several hundred page long document, which is a lot of work to put in. And that is why we are sort of breaking it down bit by bit. James, could you go through the first sort of the introductory section of it, please?
I will. So starting at the front cover, the inside front cover, as Jenna's got up there, how to use it. It tells you exactly all the different parts of the handbook, how they're divided up into sections and chapters, etc. The table of contents lists all those. And then there's, across the top, you can see there are shaded areas that tell you that you're in a different section or a different chapter within a section. So it's useful to be able to navigate it that way. Second page is the table of contents. Well, the second page. It's be page I. And the table of contents tells you where to find everything. And there's on the margin there's symbols that indicate that something is either new or has been revised significantly. That's what the R means. So like last year, for an example, was a year when a lot of things changed with the astronomical and physical data, because the kilogram measurement got changed from a solid block of platinum in France is now a measurement of an atom.
Oh.
So we can exactly identify what a kilogram is, what the mass is. there's not just a piece of platinum sitting in a vault in Paris, because it's losing mass as time passes. Little bits of atoms fly off it. Just as water evaporates, so will platinum evaporate. So they were losing mass. So they had to find a way to identify what's a kilogram. So that changed a lot of the things in that astronomical and physical data, which again is Roy Bishop does that part. So let's get back to the beginning here. There's lots of info in here, and I think one of the things I'd like to do is probably just skip ahead from the beginning to page 16.
Okay.
This is a new author. It's Julie Baldock-Duval, who does the Discover the Universe things for the world. Anybody can tune into that.
And Julie does some great things. I'm going to jump in just quickly and say that she's been doing some Astro at Home feeds lately. So if you go to her YouTube channel, she does great astronomy education. Also, if anybody has any questions, please toss them into the Q&A. We will answer them as we go.
Definitely. There's one there now.
There is. You want to answer that one now?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. So the question is, what is the difference between the US and Canadian editions?
Oh, well, there's quite a few. I used English language is different between Canada and the US, so I use American terms. Spelling, you know, labor is without a U, and neighbor without a U, and flavor, and etc. Color without a U. It's just an Americanization of the language. But in addition to that, we use all American cities for examples. Sunrise, sunset, moonrise, moonset, the solar ephemera. So all of those dates that we use and times are for American cities. And we trimmed down the light pollution in Canada is no longer the title. It's light pollution abatement is one section. In the Canadian edition, or the standard edition, if you like, is 6 pages long, but in the US edition, it's only 3 pages long. And we've given over 3 pages to the Astronomical League to put something in there of interest. So each year we've had, for an example, John Goss, who is a past president, and he's working on a new section for the 2021 right now. They provided us with a 3-pager that fits into that area. And that's basically the differences. It's more of a marketing scheme than a...
Don't tell people our secret.
People love it. And as far as I know, we sell out each year. So there's probably a few left over, but 5,500 handbooks is nothing to sneeze at.
That's true. We have a lot of people who buy handbooks from the States, a lot of schools and universities. And so it's nice for them to have a book that's catered to them.
Yeah. So starting with this teaching in the Observer's Handbook, if you went through that as a newbie, not as an educator, but just as a newbie, this is something that you could read to help you learn how to use the handbook. Because everything that you need to know is pretty much outlined there in Julie's section. So how to, looking up what astronomy is, observing the moon, eclipses, she's got it all in there identified, how to use the handbook.
Perfect.
And all the different sections that we should be looking to find things out.
That is a great starting place.
Yes, definitely. And if you are a student, we have lots of youth members and family members. Look at all the different things that you could do as a student. Read up on some of those educational resources that are in there.
That's fantastic.
You scroll back up a little bit, Jenna.
Yes.
Like that, be curious is one, but the interesting facts up above, and the solar system, observing the stars and those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. As a young student or somebody that's new to astronomy, it's a good place to start. So let's just go back a little bit now.
I'm just going to quickly grab the link to Julie's YouTube channel because Peter Brackett just asked for it. So I'm going to type out the answer, and also there it is there. I'm also going to send it in the chat for anybody who's interested. All right. Now, I was told to scroll back up. Is that right, James?
Yeah, let's go to page 6.
Okay.
Well, page 4 actually.
Okay, page 4.
All the contributors are listed there, and all the things that they supply.
That's
We've
incredible.
got people from all over the world, predominantly North America, but we have people in Australia, people in Africa, people in South America that are contributors. Japan,
Wow.
we have a Japan contributor. So yeah, and a lot of these people are academics. You know, they're at universities or institutions of some sort or another.
And the book does end up getting used all over the world too, right?
What's that again?
The book does end up getting used all over the world too, right?
Oh, definitely. You can go to any observatory in the world. And there's a handbook sitting on the control stand for the telescope. I was in Armagh in Northern Ireland, and there was an observer's handbook sitting right there on the control stand for their telescope.
That's so cool.
And they since became a journal subscriber, and then eventually became a RASC member.
Amazing.
So here we are at page 6. This is just a little outline of history about the observer's handbook. And there you can see me as the assistant editor in 2012, and then I was the society president from 2014 to 2016. Now the editor, and Chris Malicki, who lives in Mississauga, he's my assistant. He does a lot of the things that I used to do, which is we go to the couple of pages over, you'll see page 10 onwards. Those are the things that I used to look after, and recommended reading, and then on to the next one was the observatory star parties and planetaria.
Oh, wow.
Chris Malicki looks after all this now. And the selection of these observatories and planetaria was strictly mine. You know, it started out, Mary Lou Whitehorn had a one-pager of Canadian observatories. And I made it, I expanded it to anywhere in the world. So, and then again, this is one of the differences that we see in the US edition. These are all not necessarily US, some of them are, but predominantly Canadian observatories and star parties, but the US edition is predominantly US star parties and planetaria and observatories. So.
If you were interested, for example, if you're visiting, and I totally have the wrong foot in the game here, if you're visiting Manitoulin, which is where my family's from, and you wanted to see what the stars are going to be like there, you could put this information into, let's say, Stellarian, and you'd be able to see exactly what they would see from Gordon's Park on Manitoulin, right?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah. I find it some kind of interesting. For an example, right above that, the Winter Star Party. Look at the elevation. 1 meter.
That's
They're right on the water in the Florida Keys.
That's so cool.
And you scroll down one more page, you'll find that there's a negative value there for the.
Is it further up? Maybe.
Oh, there it is.
Here it is. Yeah, Sudbury. Oh, Sudbury.
Wrong page. 6,800 feet below the surface.
That's so funny. Yeah. It's a neutrino lab for those who don't know. Yeah, it's in a mine.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So then we go to the recommended reading. Is a lot of things that people might be interested in. You're on page 10 there.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. My bad.
There
we go.
Jumping all over the place. So the recommended reading is just stuff that you might be interested in, places that you could look at to get more information, because this handbook is a really compressed compendium of information. It's like an almanac. But if you want more, there's where you can go to read. Perfect. There's lots and lots of places that you can go to that have a lot more information than are in the handbook. Because the handbook is a very compressed, I mean, you only have 352 pages to put all this information, everything you wanted to know about the universe.
Well, you do a good job.
Then we go to the selected observers and star parties, planetaria. We went by all that. And then we got the internet resources. Now, these are all places that you could go to look for more information. Some of them are in the handbook, and the pages are referenced there in brackets after them. Some of them are not in the handbook, like the Canadian Space Agency, Fuel Plate Spat Astronomy blog, and Astronomers Without Borders, and so on. We don't have them in the handbook, but they're interesting places to go and see. If you want to see the Hubble Space Telescope images, there's a great resource there. They got all the images that were ever obtained by this telescope.
Where's that one? Sorry, I can't see it there.
It's about the 10th one down.
10th one down.
Heritage.sci.
Oh, there it is. There you go.
Space Telescope Science Institute.
I'll send that link out if anybody's interested. There you go. It's in the chat.
And there's another there, the NASA Astrophysics Data System. If you're interested in looking at articles, for an example, all the journals from the beginning to now are in that ADS. I'm one of the people, I work on the journal still. I'm the production manager, and we send to the manager she works in Harvard University in in Massachusetts. And she takes all the information we give her plus PDFs of the journals, puts them online, and everything that we publish is there.
Wow.
I wanted to search for, an author, a title, that sort of thing. It's under JRASC, Journal of the RASC.
Very cool.
Lots of stuff there. Spaceflight at NASA, all the spaceflight information is there. That's not, again, not mentioned in the handbook, but it's good information. Next page, teaching in the handbook. We already got to that one.
Yeah, just to give you an update on time, we plan to have these sessions be about a half hour long, and we can make them run a little bit longer depending on how you guys all feel. We have about 10 minutes left. This one may run a little bit long. James, that's okay with you?
It's fine with me, sure.
All righty. Okay. Oh, and we're on the basic data section, so maybe not.
Yeah, now a lot of this information comes from Roy Bishop. A lot of it's been carried over from year to year with no author. If there's no author named, then it's me. I do it. Like the sunrise, sunset, moonrise, moonset tables, those are all me. And
wow.
There's a lot of that. Lots and lots of stuff. And in here, you'll see that there's lots of symbols that we use. We don't use the solar system's object symbols anymore. They used to be quite predominant in the handbook. If we were talking about Neptune or Saturn or something, then the symbol was what was used, particularly in the month by month, but we don't do that anymore. The zodiac's symbols. And the Greek alphabet is useful because in the brightest stars table, which is the huge table of about 15 pages or so, all of the stars are using the Greek alphabet letters.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head where that is in the book?
270.
270. Wow. 275?
So 276 is the first table page.
Okay. If you're following along,
you can see on the left side all the stars are with their symbols.
Okay, I'm gonna scroll down. It's a little ways. Get ready. Okay, yeah. Where are we at? 231, 253. There we go.
Nope, not yet.
Ah!
Oh, you went too far.
No, I went too far. Okay, go back.
Should be
there they are.
There they are.
Wow. So that's all. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it's a big table.
Okay.
Now this particular table, we're going to get into it when we get into the stars.
Yes, for now.
This table is a condensed version of what we have online. In the supplements of the handbook on the website, rasc.ca/supplements, you'll find an expanded table of this with a huge notation beside each star.
Oh my goodness.
The remarks.
Is that?
Tumas Carmo. He used to work at the David Dunlop Observatory in the Robert Garrison times, and he's now living in Estonia, of all places.
Oh, wow.
Living on a commune.
Wow.
So he does this, and he's expanded that table enormously in the last couple of years, and updated all the names and updated all the locations, positions of all the stars. Big job. So we worked at that over the last, I don't know, 5 months or so, up until the end of the year. So that table is now published online.
My goodness, what a lot of work.
And then the next page, the solar system geometry. This is good to know. What's a superior conjunction, for an example, and what's an inferior conjunction? Can you have an inferior conjunction of Mars, for an example?
Zoom in, because I've never used
these
terms before. No. Okay.
Mars better not ever come between us and the sun. So the only inferior conjunctions you can have are the inner planets.
Okay.
Mercury and Venus are the only two that have inferior conjunctions. And the other planets have oppositions or conjunctions.
So one of the things that I find happens with astronomy is a lot is that some of the terms end up being a bit not exclusionary. It's just there's so much going on in space that, to simplify it, you have to have terms. But a lot of folks don't know those terms or aren't used to using them. And when you throw out words like inferior conjunction and opposition and eastern quadrature and all that sort of stuff, people kind of just go, ah.
Absolutely.
And so this is reading through
this is where
really
you want to learn that
yeah.
little bit, you know. You can take a part of the handbook and become relatively good at it. You can become an expert at it if you take the hints that we give you and develop it, you know. Go to the library, learn up about these things, learn what they mean. You don't have to go to a library. Google is an excellent source. Wikipedia is an excellent source.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to know about inferior conjunctions, then we're talking about the two inner planets, the two inferior planets.
True.
And the others are the superior planets. So you can have a opposition of Mars, for an example, whereas Mars is behind us and the sun is in front of us. That's an opposition.
Mm-hmm.
If the sun is in front of us and Mars is in front of us, that's a conjunction. The two of them are in the same longitude. Or right ascension is the word.
Okay.
So if they appear both on the same line right in front of your face, they're in conjunction.
Okay.
If they're a little bit wide of the line, we call it a quasi-conjunction because they're not really on the same right ascension. They're close.
Okay. Right. Okay. So this is in this diagram. It took me a second. This is Earth here, right?
That's us, yes.
Okay. I was thinking for some reason this was Earth, which is definitely not how it goes. So I was like, that can't be right. The conjunction's over here. I don't get it, but I see now.
Yep.
Perfect.
So on the outer ring is the outer planets, any one of them, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, or Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, for an example, or the inner planets, either Mercury or Venus.
Cool. Okay.
So you can have a greatest elongation west or a greatest elongation east, but only of the two inner planets.
Right. And that
happened. Venus is at a very, very high in the sky. So it's at a greatest elongation east of the sun.
Right, because it's
if
east of the sun
evening,
after sunset.
Right. Sun goes down first and then Venus, that's east.
Okay.
And if it's in the morning, it's the west.
So if anyone who's been out observing lately or has gone to look at anything out there, if you see something bright in the sky after sunset, really, really bright, to the west, that's Venus.
It's a spotlight.
It is so bright.
Yeah. And this is a little thing that was added just a few years ago, just a quick way to determine angular measurements. So you can use it like the Big Dipper for an example. You can use the measurements between the stars there to determine how far apart an object is.
Okay.
5 degrees on the pointer stars are the Pointer Polaris. And Polaris is 28 degrees away from that upper star in the bowl. The two upper stars are 10 degrees apart and so on, or you can use your fist. You know, your little finger is 1 degree, held at arm's length, of course.
And that's key because small people have small hands, but they also have small arms.
The two go together. Usually if you got small hands, you got small arms too.
That's true, yeah. Okay.
Okay, and this gets a little technical, astronomical precession. If you were to observe the North Star over the period of 26,000 years, you would see that the Earth's axis points to Polaris, but then it wanders away from it over, 13,000 years later, it'll be quite a ways away from it, and then it will eventually come back. And this is like a spinning top. If you spin a top on a table and watch it go, you'll see the top of it going around like this as it's spinning. That's precession. And it goes the opposite way of the spin. So the Earth is spinning west to east. So the precession is from east to west.
Huh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
And then you can see, this is what it's talking about, the ecliptic. There were in the bold writing toward the bottom of the first paragraph, it says it wobbles a small amount.
And Alistair, in defense of all the people under 30, I know what a spinning top is, okay?
Yeah, right. But you'll also see that last paragraph above there. We're at the 30-minute mark. Precession in the constellations, so the constellations will also appear to be in different places.
Oh, true.
At different
Would that
times
be
of the year.
compared to the sun too, right?
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
So it
the
takes
zodiac.
about 26,000 years or so for it to go through a full cycle. So we won't see any differences in our lifetime. But
Oh well.
over the course of a long time, then you can notice a difference.
And there's something about star charts needing to be updated about every 50 years because of it, right? Sometimes stars will dip below that'll be enough time that stars will dip below the horizon.
Yeah.
Cool.
We use the epoch is J2000 is the standard one, but a lot of the tables that we see in the handbook are epoch 2021, for an example. The one I'm working on, all the stuff that's in the brightest stars, for an example, that's the 20 in the handbook. It's the 2020 epoch.
Oh, cool.
So you see it at the top of the page here on page 276, for an example, and the right ascension is 2020.5.
I'm gonna go look. 276. Sorry for the violent scrolling, everybody.
You're going so fast. There you are.
276. And it
So
says,
right
oh,
down
here.
the bottom left there, you see it's 2020 that we're using. So
Okay.
these are as accurate as we can get them at the time of the printing of the handbook.
Wow. And if you were to use something like a planetarium software or something like that, you only really have, when you're doing that, they don't have it as precise, do they? They only have like up to J2000?
Sometimes they're current. If you need to know something like the dimming of algal, for an example, they'd be using the current data. Like the Sky and Telescope.
Okay.
Sky and Telescope have an app on their website that tells you when algol will next be dim. Algol is two stars in orbit around each other, and one goes in front of the other every 3.5 hours or so. Or pardon me, 3.5 days, I should say.
Okay.
And you see that in the Sky Monthly Month that shows you the minima of algol.
Oh, very cool.
So here's the principal elements of the solar system. There's a lot of information in that little table. And the oscillating orbital elements for 2020, if you knew 6 of these elements that are named at the bottom, you'll be able to determine where any one of those objects will be. If you get those 6 elements, you'll be able to determine the position of any one of these.
Wow. With the chart available here.
On the right side.
Wow. Next page.
That page, that page right there. And all the minor planets below it.
Wow. Okay, so you can do the math using this table and figure out where they all are. Do you have the formula? Yeah, eh?
It's right there. Yeah.
It's these ones here?
It's not easy, but it's possible to do. Yeah.
So it's this formula and this one here? Or is it?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, wow. Cool.
And the next one is the natural satellites of the planets. We used to name all of the satellites by name, but there got to be so many of them. Like Jupiter now has 82 moons.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Saturn's got like 70 or something, right? Or
just a few years ago, Dave Chapman decided that it'd be prudent to only name the ones that you can see. This is an observer's handbook after all. So if you can't see it, it's not an observable item. So
good point.
We only have observable satellites in there now.
Okay.
But there is an online table that you can get from the US, from NASA.
With everything?
All the satellites.
Wow.
All the planets, yes.
Okay. Wow. All right.
And there's just a few more pages left there. And the next one is orbital motion. This is a thing from Roy Bishop telling you about how things move in the sky according to Newton and Einstein.
Oh, yeah.
Then we got some astronomical and physical data. This is what I was mentioning earlier about the kilogram, for an example, now being identified as a mass. It's a constant mass and energy there.
Okay. Is that, did you add in the definition for kilogram? Hold on. We'll get to the.
The definition is on page 31. It's defined as the exact values of Planck's constant, the second of time, and the speed of light.
Wow. Okay, cool. Instead of just saying it's a block of, what was it? Plutonium in France?
Platinum.
Platinum in France.
There's a lot of information squished into those 3 pages.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
And we use System International throughout the book. So we're talking about the metric system. Everything's in metric. So we use those SI symbols and prefixes for everything that we talk about in the book.
We are Canadian after all.
And the electromagnetic spectrum, a lot of people don't understand totally that radio waves and visible light and microwaves and so on are all the same thing. It's all electromagnetism. And there is the graph that shows you all the different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum, right from the Fermi.
There's
And
cell
that's
phones.
the Space Observatory that observed that. Gamma rays, X-rays, so those are the high energy ones. And the light is what we see with our eyes, infrared, and then it gives the different types of satellites that we've been able to use with the infrared and microwaves, radio waves.
And this is, I think, something that's really kind of important and neat because, of course, it is the Observer's Handbook. And really, the only way that we know a lot about stuff from space is just by looking at it, just in different wavelengths of light.
That's right. But just about everything that we know about the universe is either electromagnetism or the effects of gravity.
Yeah, true.
The only way we know.
Yeah, forgot about gravity. That's an important one.
Yeah. And then we come to the next page, Voyages in the Solar System. This is Randy Atwood's section. He keeps this current as it can be.
Wow.
That
Exciting
takes us
thing.
to the end of the first section.
I'll just make a quick note because the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 13 mission is coming up. And Randy is actually giving a talk on that on Monday, April 13th, which is the 50th anniversary of the problem that caused them to not land on the moon. So that's available on our website if anybody wants to sign up for that. We may have a special guest, but I can't make any totally firm claims yet.
Well, do you have any questions?
So far, that's great. If anybody has any questions, please.
See a couple that showed up there just now.
Yes, they're not questions. So there's a web link that Gaetan, thank you, Gaetan, for providing it. I'm going to dismiss your questions and send it out in the chat. That's the link to Julie's main website. I sent out an email link to her YouTube channel, which is where she streams her astronomy at home content. So that is there as well. If anybody has any questions regarding the Observer's Handbook introductory section, now is the time to ask them. Otherwise, if you have other bigger questions or questions coming up later, you can send them over and we can address them at later times. Next section, while you guys write up your questions, we're going to talk about time and optics. And so again, I'll send out the link to the website where that's where all of the sessions are listed. If you haven't signed up for it, so you can sign up for it at the link for registration, which is on that website. Just make sure that when you do sign up, you select the sessions that you want to be a part of. You do have to select each session as you are interested in it. Doug Kearney missed the answer regarding the PDF. Could you just repeat the little bit about having the PDF available, James?
Why we don't have one?
Yes, why we don't have one available.
Well, we found it was, first of all, it was only, we had to purchase from a firm that would provide us with passwords. We had to buy 200 passwords, or pardon me, 100 passwords from them for $200. And we sold those passwords to people who were interested in getting a handbook. We had to have a password so that it didn't get used against us. We had to retain our revenue stream. So we sold 10 subscriptions at $10 each.
Oof.
So for a $200 outlay, we got $100 revenue. That's called bankruptcy. So we decided against it. And we published the book. This is a way of earning money. That's how the society pays for our outreach. That's how we pay Jenna's salary.
Yes, I do like getting paid. That's why I'm here.
Absolutely. And it's a lot of work.
Yeah, no
Do
kidding.
a PDF that has all the internal page reference links and external PDFs or external URLs, active and live. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
And I did it voluntarily, and I'm not going to do it again.
I think we send everybody a physical copy, and I really like having the physical copy to be able to take it out into the field and out and to go observing, to be able to actually look at the pages. So I really like the physical copy. I'm not sure. That's just me.
It's cool not to have batteries.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Drop it.
Yeah, it's always going to work. It's always going to work.
Absolutely.
So here is, there's another question. I just sent out a link that someone sent in the questions to Discover the Universe page, but it's not working. So I will get a new link and send it out in the chat. While I do that, could you answer the question, is this book a good starting point for a new beginner, or do you recommend more introductory readings?
It's a bit overwhelming for a new beginner. So probably the best thing to do would be get the Explore the Universe guide.
Yes, yeah. So I'll jump in and say a couple things. So there's Julie's main page.
We have this book, we published it. This is a good introductory to learning about astronomy. And it would also introduce you to the Explore the Universe certificate.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested, that's the way to go. Get the book, get involved, get a pair of binoculars, that's about all you need, and learn about the universe. And
So
once you get this under your belt, then go forward. Oh, there's a thing by Alistair.
Yes, that's true. Alistair says one of the good things about the handbook is that the links are vetted, which is very true, and they're updated every year. The problem with a lot of websites that post links to better content is that the content then goes out of functionality, and so website.
Every URL is checked every year.
So it's a really, really good resource for that. When I first started, I definitely found it overwhelming because you flip through and you're like, oh my God, so many charts of numbers and so many things. And I don't feel like I'm good enough to be able to use it. But if you go through it slowly and there's a lot of really, really good information, not just numbers and stuff, but there's like text about what, lunar occultations are and all sorts of other interesting stuff. So it is a really good read. I will mention that we have recently started for new members sending out the Explore the Universe book with membership. And it's going to take us a while, especially considering what's happening now. But we're going through members who signed up, or all of our other members, and sending out Explore the Universe guides. But it's going to take us a long time because we only have an office of 5 people and none of us can go in right now. So we're getting there. We will be sending those out soon. They're really good tools for the very beginner level, but I do recommend having both because I think the Observer's Handbook is great.
There's a long history behind the handbook. We've had it since 1907. So.
If anyone is in Toronto area, actually not right now because no one can go into the office right now, but we do have an archives room at the Society office, which is over near Islington Station. So once we can all visit each other again in real life, you can come and check out the archives room if you want to and see some older copies of the Observer's Handbook.
Right on. More questions?
It looks like that's it. David Warmouth is just talking about electronic copies. Oh, good. Okay. So Rana has already received the Explore the Universe book, so she'll start with that. Awesome. Good job. Sounds great. And then, yes. Okay. Judy says there's a link on the homepage that has the PDFs of previous handbooks. I don't know where that is. Do you know where it is off the top of your head, James?
What was that?
A link on the homepage on our website that has the PDFs of previous handbooks.
Walter McDonald just put it up in the chat. So.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Walter. So this place is great. We have so many wonderful members who help to keep all this going. So I'll find that link. And then there was a question, when did the handbook start? Sorry, I think you mentioned that briefly, but could you repeat it?
Yeah, 1908, I think it was. No, pardon me. Yeah, it's 1908.
1908. That's been a while.
I'm sorry, Canadian Astronomical Handbook for 1907. So the second edition was 1908.
Okay. Let me see if I can find the archival copies. Okay, so if you search, this is a really old school way to search it. Hold on, let me see. Our archives are a little bit difficult to search sometimes, but if you search, oh, it's on the COVID update session. Of course it is. Thank you, Judy. Let me find it then.
Handbook history.
So we do have a lot of links to our old books on there. I'm gonna just type out the answer as an answer to the question. I'll send it in the chat as well. There we go. I do want to just mention, if you're going to look into that, oh good, and Walter sent out handbook history too. If you're going to look into our archives, I do want to mention that there are some, I mean, this happens a lot. There's books from the mid 1800s. There's some content that does not currently reflect the opinions of the RASC. But we don't want to erase it, because to erase it would mean saying like it didn't happen. So we just want to be sure that if you do read through that, there's historical context that comes with it. And of course, many of the opinions shared in it were wrong at the time. They're wrong now. But it's interesting to look back at history and see what has occurred. We found this out on one of our books that appears on that page. So just a heads up when you're reading through that content. Okie dokie. And then I'm not sure what this question means. What about Ottawa for reading? Alioun, I'm afraid you're going to have to specify a little bit more.
Ottawa, is it?
Ottawa, yeah.
I don't know.
I'm
library. Not sure. Go to the library.
Alrighty, I think that takes care of it for today. We're almost at an hour now, so we accidentally went a little bit longer than we planned to. So we'll wrap it up. Next session will be Time and Optics, and we hope to have Roy Bishop joining us. And that will be Monday next week. So if you haven't signed up then, please do. Yeah, we definitely can't be done in 30 minutes. You're right, John. So perfect. So we'll see you guys all next week. Thank you so much for joining. And we look forward to exploring the handbook with you. James, thank you for hosting the series with us. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
See you next time.
See you next time.